Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I've got to say I am incredibly excited to be with you today because we're talking about something that is going to fundamentally change how you view your own body. We're diving deep into epigenetic triggers and how we can actually silence disease genes. For literally decades, we've been fed this idea that our DNA is our destiny, right? Like whatever hand you were dealt at birth, well, that's just the hand you're forced to play. But as we'll see from the groundbreaking science and biohacking insights we're unpacking today, that is actually completely wrong. We have the power to rewrite our biological destinies. We can optimize this human machine, turn back the clock on aging, and block the very diseases that might have plagued our ancestors. So get ready, because what we're about to uncover is, well, it's nothing short of revolutionary.
So let me ask you this. Are your genes a ticking time bomb? Picture it, the 23 pairs of chromosomes sitting inside your cells right this very second. You inherited them from your parents, your grandparents, stretching back through, roughly 8,000 generations of human history. It's natural to worry, right? What exactly is hiding in there? Is there some secret genetic countdown to heart disease or diabetes or chronic fatigue just waiting to go off? We often look at our family trees with this sense of dread. Like if grandpa had a heart condition, I guess I'm destined for one too. But what if those inherited threats are completely optional? What if those bad genes are just deeply asleep and you have the absolute power to make sure they never, ever wake up?
This whole concept is summed up perfectly by one of my absolute favorite phrases. Genes are loaded guns and lifestyle pulls the trigger. Think about that for a second. Just because you carry a gene that codes for a specific disease doesn't mean you're actually going to get it. The gun is simply loaded. It's just sitting there, completely harmless on its own. The disease only happens if something comes along and pulls the trigger. And that trigger? It is almost always our lifestyle, our environment, and our daily habits. If you can identify the trigger and remove it, the gun never fires. The disease never happens. It really is that straightforward.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, Epigenetics, the science of switches.
So what does this actually mean? Well, the term epigenetics literally translates to above or on top of genetics. It is the scientific process of influencing our genes from the outside, switching them on or off, all without altering the underlying DNA sequence itself. Look, you can't change the actual DNA code you were born with, short of some highly advanced, currently inaccessible gene editing therapies anyway. But you can completely change how that code is expressed. By using specific behaviors, nutrients, and biohacks, you can essentially command those disease genes to stay completely suppressed. You're basically keeping them asleep.
And this represents a massive, massive paradigm shift in the medical world right now. On one side, you have what our sources call the sickness industry. This is the traditional model we all know, right? Waiting until you're already sick, dragging yourself to a hospital, and taking medication just to treat the symptoms. It's a huge global industry, but it is entirely reactive. On the flip side is true preventive health and biohacking. This is the future. This is about staying so perfectly optimized that your disease genes stay turned off indefinitely. It's about maintaining a state of high performance and longevity, actively preventing sickness before a single symptom even has the chance to pop up.
Which brings us to Section 2, identifying your epigenetic triggers. Finding your own personalized hidden health threats is actually surprisingly simple. Today, it doesn't require invasive surgery. You literally just need 1 single milliliter of saliva. From that tiny little sample, experts can extract and decode your entire DNA sequence. We are talking about mapping out the genetic probability for up to 275 different health conditions. Once that data is decoded, experts cross-reference it with published medical data to find the exact, highly specific lifestyle triggers that would activate your dormant disease genes. And step 3, you simply block those triggers. It's like having a highly precise, targeted blueprint for your own survival.
Let me give you a really fascinating real-world example from our sources. Imagine someone gets their genetic test back, and it reveals they carry the gene variant for coronary artery disease. You know, the kind that causes fatal heart attacks and maybe runs super deep in their family history. That sounds terrifying, right? But wait, the epigenetic data reveals that this specific gene is only triggered into activation by a deficiency in vitamin B9, which is also known as folate. So if this person just makes sure their folate levels are always optimized and maintained, they essentially block the trigger. They could live to be 100 and never suffer the heart disease that took their ancestors, all because they kept the genes silenced.
Now here's a crazy plot twist for you. A quote-unquote healthy habit can actually be deadly if it's the wrong fit for your genes. For instance, we always hear that high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, is amazing for cardio. But let's say someone has a genetic variant that causes a prolonged QT interval in their heart rhythm. For them, the intense stress of a HIIT workout is the exact epigenetic trigger that could cause sudden heart failure. This is why we sometimes hear those tragic stories of seemingly super fit people collapsing at the gym. It's absolute proof that personalization is a necessity. Generic health advice can quite literally be a death sentence if you don't know your DNA.
And of course, we are surrounded by potential triggers every single day. Let's look at some modern cellular disruptors. We live in an environment that our ancestors never had to face. First off, we're constantly bombarded by EMF radiation from wireless signals, which research is showing can actually disrupt cellular function and sleep. Then there's chronic stress. Picture a little stick figure desperately trying to outrun a giant tidal wave of cortisol. That constant fight-or-flight hormone is a massive trigger for fat deposition and gene activation. And finally, nutrient depletion. Our modern food supply, even the good organic stuff, often just lacks the foundational vitamins and minerals our bodies desperately need to maintain optimal energy and immune function.
Moving right along to Section 3, peptides as epigenetic switches.
Enter bioregulators. Now, these are definitely not your average daily vitamins. Bioregulators are tiny, highly specific peptides made up of just 2 to 4 amino acids. And what makes them so revolutionary is that they act directly on your DNA. They function exactly like those epigenetic switches we've been talking about. When your cells are damaged or aging or triggered by environmental stress, these tiny little peptides step right in to repair the code and actively reset your gene expression back to a healthy state.
One of the absolute master switches in the human body is the GHK-Cu peptide. The Cu there stands for copper, which is actually required as a cofactor to activate it. But get this, GHK-Cu acts on roughly 4,000 genes in the human genome. 4,000! It goes in and literally resets your DNA to a more youthful setting. It's super famous in biohacking circles for skin rejuvenation, boosting collagen, and healing scars. But way beyond the surface level, it is profoundly anti-inflammatory. It heals the gut, and it's even anxiolytic, which means it actively reduces anxiety. It's just an absolute foundational powerhouse for healthy aging.
A really good way to think about this process is with a simple car metaphor. Think of your aging or stressed out cells like a balding car tire. Over time, the environment just wears them down, they lose their grip on the road, and they stop functioning properly. Now, introducing bioregulators like GHK-Cu or specific thyroid and liver peptides doesn't magically give you a brand new fuzzy tire right out of the factory, but it absolutely restores the tread. It brings back a critical degree of lost function, stabilizing your internal systems so those dormant disease genes can't find a weak spot to exploit.
All right, Section 4, optimizing the human machine.
Right now, as we speak, there is a literal battle going on for your nervous system. Your body essentially operates in 2 primary modes. There's fight or flight, which is driven by chronic cortisol. Unfortunately, this is where most people live today, amped up, anxious, and highly susceptible to disease triggers. The ultimate goal of optimization is to force your body into the chill state more often. How? By stimulating the vagus nerve. Biohackers are actually using these wearable devices that attach to the left ear tragus, delivering a super light electrical pulse that runs straight down the neck to the chest. It instantly commands the nervous system to just calm down and recover.
So what does a daily routine to keep your genes silenced actually look like? Well, it basically combines high-tech with deep nature. Foundational habits include just 10 minutes a day of barefoot earthing, literally just physically touching the grass or soil to naturally recover your health and drop inflammation. You combine that with vagus nerve stimulation for the chill state and carefully cycling your personalized supplements. And remember that word, cycling. Even with powerful tools like molecular hydrogen or peptides, you don't just blindly take them forever. You have to cycle them intelligently based on exactly what your specific biology is demanding at any given moment.
And this brings us to an incredibly profound realization from one of the leading tech and longevity pioneers in our sources. They said, "We have the ability to predictably engineer atoms and molecules. We have admin access to all of reality." I mean, really think about the weight of that statement. We are moving way past the primitive age of human health. We're no longer cavemen just grunting at the world and hoping for the best. Through genomics, epigenetics, targeted peptides, and thermodynamic computation, we literally have administrative access to program our biology, just like we write computer code. We can design our own outcomes.
Which leads perfectly into Section 5, a disease-free future.
Let's talk about a very specific year, 2045. Top scientists and researchers in this field are making a really bold, staggering prediction. They honestly believe that by the year 2045, exactly because of the personalized epigenetic tracking and biohacking methods we've explored today, all lifestyle diseases will vanish completely from the earth. I want you to just let that sink in for a second.
In just a couple of decades, the massive wave of chronic illnesses that completely overwhelm our hospitals today could be entirely eradicated.
In actual practice, this means conditions like PCOD, which affect millions of people and are so heavily influenced by lifestyle and environment, will just become a thing of the past. The generations coming after us won't have to suffer through the symptoms because we'll catch the genetic probability from day one. We'll implement the specific lifestyle modifications needed right away and prevent the disease from ever switching on in the first place. The sickness industry is going to be forced to become a true health optimization industry.
Which leaves us with this crucial, highly personal question to ponder as we wrap up. What epigenetic triggers are hiding in your DNA right now, just waiting to be silenced? Because now you have the tools. You understand the science of the switches. You know that your genes are simply loaded guns, and you are the one in control of the trigger. It's time to take admin access to your own reality and engineer the healthiest, highest-performing version of yourself. I really hope this explainer opened your eyes to the unbelievable power you hold over your own biology. Stay curious, stay optimized, and we'll catch you in the next one.